You're live. I want to welcome you to our August council meeting. I said you please stand and join us in a moment of silence to honor our troops that are currently serving, have served, and have made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. Please join us in a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I'll ask the clerk please read the sunshine notice.
This meeting is held pursuant to New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act. Adequate notice of this meeting was advertised in January 11, 2015 edition of The Trend and was provided to the Star Ledger, Daily Record, and North Jersey Herald News on January 11, 2015. Adequate notice of this meeting was also posted on the municipal bulletin board, filed with the acting borough clerk, and provided to those persons or entities requesting notification.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Frida?
Here.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Here.
Councilman Barish?
Here.
Councilman Cobell?
Here.
Councilwoman Sventi? Here. Councilman Giantonio?
Here. Ask the clerk to please read the treasurer's report.
The treasurer's report indicates we started out with cash on hand as of June 30th, 2015 in the amount of $2,312,274.36. Receipts for the month of July totaled $3,149,082.36, with disbursements amounting to $4,318,148.86. The new balance on hand July 31st, 2015 was $1,143,207.86.
Someone offer that, please.
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cobell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sventi?
Yes.
And Councilman Giantonio?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to remind the members of the council that members of the public in the audience have in the past requested that we kind of lean into the microphone so that we can be heard. So just adjust your microphones and speak up if you have to. Short report this evening. At our council work session, we did in fact approve a request to the New Jersey Department of Agriculture to provide for a survey of gypsy moth eggs within the municipality. I think to that end we listened to the public regarding some treatment, but we're not quite there yet, just yet. We're trying to determine the extent of the infestation, if we in fact do have one, and the Department of Agriculture indicated that in fact we may in fact have a challenge here regarding gypsy moths moving forward. Wanted to take a moment to tell you that the Planning Board did take action on the Marshall's application on Tuesday night and approved it. It will be memorialized in September, but Marshall project in fact is moving forward. We had some concerns regarding traffic flow, which I think the applicant addressed, but once again I think that Planning Board did a nice job of vetting the application and has in fact approved it. I just have one other item for close, so at this point in time, we'll move on now to council committee reports. We'll start with Councilman Jim Frida, Recreation. Jim.
I wasn't expecting that quick. We're approving tonight, sorry, these notebooks take up a lot of room with this computer here, the resolutions for the moving forward of fixing the field behind Town Hall, as we call it, the Borough or Muni Field. As you know, we're going to be installing bluegrass sod, and underneath that sod we're going to remove layers of dirt, and what we remove we're going to screen to get out all of the garbage that's down there, from glass bottles to rocks, etc. And then we're going to put in an irrigation system, and then we're going to put down the sod, and this sod is about at least 6 feet in width, so you'll be able to roll it, and you won't have those the smaller sod they're used to that roll up on the edges. This is going to be big, huge pieces of sod, and it'll be rolled down a lot more secure to the ground. So that field will be closed probably, I'd say, at the end of August, first week of September. And then, in turn, we'll be moving over to the high school practice field, where we will be putting in temporary lighting, and the football team will be practicing over there for now. I want to thank the Board of Ed for approving that, and Scott Rosenberg for working with Melanie to allow that to happen.
Jim, just
yes.
to clarify for the public, it's the practice field in the back, not
Correct.
the entire complex, so...
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, the game field will be open for games. I'm assuming Bob Lewis and Melanie Shuckers have worked out the details, because I'm not sure where the kids are going to warm up if if the whole field is closed and then there's one football field. So they might have to either wait in the mayor not to look, but maybe in front of Borough Hall or across the street at the high school, but then you're going to have 100 kids crossing Kinnelon Road, so we have to think about what we're going to be doing there. So although we could just have them practice in the parking lot, they're getting used to that. So we're excited about that, and we're going to keep a close eye on it and make sure that it all goes well, and I'll report every month about what's going on back there. The rec camp, as you know, Melanie Shuckers and the rec committee made it a little bit longer this year. It was still a 3-week program that went from, I think it was 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. After doing that for the full 3 weeks, we decided that maybe next year we're going to scale back the hours a little bit. We felt that the children just, got in a little trouble in the afternoon, as they would say in my business anyhow. So we're looking at, we're going to do probably a longer period and shorter hours. So it'll go maybe for, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks, and then maybe we'll scale it back to 1 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock. So stay tuned for details on that. This year, senior girls soccer, which is our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or 7th and 8th graders, we only had 5 girls sign up for soccer for recreation. So we asked them to either join in with the boys or we give them a credit. So either way, the girls are welcome to join the boys. We played together last year, a couple games with the girls, and we did awesome, and I didn't really see any problems with it, so I hope they do join us. As we all know, the World Series winners in Kinnelon is our 16U girls softball team. If you ever gone through this whole Babe Ruth, Cal Ripken, Little League thing, you'd realize what an amazing task that was for them to win that World Series. My travel team played 7 games before they even got out of the districts. So this team is an amazing group of girls, and just kept playing and playing, and they beat Lodi, California 4-2 to win the World Series championship. And the thing I'm most proud of is actually they won, out of that league, they won the Sportsmanship Code of Conduct Award from Cal Ripken. So of all the girls that were in the World Series, Kinnelon came home with the World Series championship and the Sportsmanship Award. So I asked them if they'd like to join us. I asked them if they'd like to join us for a resolution, and we'll praise them, and I think they said, you know what, we've been there about 10 or 15 times in front of you guys, so they're going to let us know. But that's just one of their trophies back there, and we have several upstairs and some in the cabinet. So, we'd love to have them. We extended the invite to just tell them how proud we are of them, and hopefully they come on board with us. Mike Aries, our rec commissioner, is leaving. I was going to write retire, but he's leaving. His son is moving into high school, so he wants to focus a little bit more on the high school programs. So there is an opening on the rec commission for an alternate. Melanie is working on the wording, and it will go on the borough website asking for applicants. Basically, an applicant just needs to send us a letter, and we'll review it, and the rec commission and the council will make a decision on the next rec commissioner. K-Fest. It's difficult for me to say this, but the woman who runs K-Fest with me, and I'm not going to mention her name, it's usually her and I. we run K-Fest. And I'll be honest, I don't do much. I'm kind of the yes man and the no man, and let's try this, let's try that, but she has done everything. So for the last, I guess, 4 or 5 years that we've had K-Fest, she's done everything. This year, I kept asking her questions, how's this going, how's that going, and she kept saying, oh, well, it's okay, this, that, but I felt like something was up, and for unforeseen health reasons, she can no longer do K-Fest, and so I'm probably going to have to continue to do it, but it's going to be scaled back this year, possibly just to maybe fireworks and a concert over at the high school or something to that extent with food and some different things. But I don't think I can pull off the Main Street feel of K-Fest and do it down there. But, it's definitely going to happen next year. I mean, but this year, I can almost say that it's not going to happen. At least I know that the woman who's running it definitely cannot do it. But, she will be back next year, so hopefully everyone understands that. So I'm still discussing. I called the mayor today. He's like, what can we do? So, him and I are communicating about it, and we're going to come up with something that day to celebrate Kinnelon. I know the fireworks are already booked. Band, we have a band shell, so we can just make it a Kinnelon day from, let's say, 5 o'clock on and do the fireworks to top it off. But there will be something, and I apologize for that, and wish her a speedy recovery. Lastly, what happened last week with the November election vote for turf? I felt that we didn't have enough information. I've gotten a couple emails from people upset about what I voted and how I voted. I said to them, we don't have the information in front of us right now to vote on this. And that's my standing here. It's not that I don't care about the 1,400 people that signed the petition. It's that we didn't have the information to put onto a ballot. I can't put something on there where I'm going to say it's up to $2 million or up to $3 million for a turf field, because I would vote no for it. I want a firm number of what it's going to cost. So with that being said, I would like to just ask Mark Medeo if you can do some research, and for the next workshop, maybe bring back to us of what we can do. We need to get the firm price from the DEP, but also, get it out of the DEP so we can get a firm price. And also, is there a chance we can do a special election?
On a public question?
On a question, yes. It would be a turf question it would have after it comes out of DEP. So I'm not saying it's going to be October, November, whenever it can happen, when we have a firm number. So then on that question, we could say a turf field in Kinnelon that's going to cost the borough $800,000, X amount per taxpayer, and then we're away from the stuff, like the petition that went around. I felt it wasn't a petition that, if I saw it and didn't know the research that I know, I would have signed it. So I just want all the facts to be out, and then have a special election and let the people vote on it. But I don't know anything about a special election. I know somebody quoted that there's a cost to it.
I was pretty certain I wasn't going to have to bring my election staff.
But no, that's all I'm asking, is to bring it back to our next workshop. So you don't need anything now. And that's just me speaking. If the council's against it, I just think that we need, like I said, our DEP permits were submitted on August 11th. So we should hear relatively, knowing the DEP, anywhere from 30 to 90 days, which means 90 days. And then at that point, we have the guy in town that's willing to tell us what it will cost to do this turf field. And then I'm comfortable putting it out to vote for the public to vote on. Mayor? And that's a green turf field, not a blue one. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. Moving on to Public Works and Utilities, Council President O'Doherty.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add to K-Fest, Jim. We heard today from Riverdale, the stage they are going to provide us that day, so we got the stage, and we just have to provide them with an insurance certificate, that's all. And for the fireworks, we will have the DPW facility available. John is going to work with us on that.
Awesome.
So we're going to
Thank
be
you.
able to do the fireworks that night on the 26th. Hopefully it holds out for the rain. The rain date's the 27th. As far as we talked about at the workshop last week, Jeff Francovelli, I called him about the situation, about people driving their vehicles. If we have borough vehicles that civilian members are in, all right, they are covered under our liability insurance, but it is strongly recommended that we institute a policy prohibiting such practices as the country is suit happy. You know, the lawyers, they just want to sue people, and we're going to be dragged into a suit. So we're going to ask our employees, please do not ride your family members in our vehicles if you're allowed to take them home. All right, if a family member is injured, the individual during the accident involved in one of our vehicles, the individual's medical insurance will take effect. Even though we're covered for the liability, but their injuries will be covered under that individual that's injured's medical insurance. The bridge construction on Keel Avenue is coming along, but may not be complete by the opening day of school. It depends on Tilcon, who will be paving the road surface. There are a few options: either close the roadway, provide a one-lane pass with a police officer present, which will cost overtime, of course, for all the vehicles, all right, or just limit it to buses. But we all know how many people, how many students take the buses during the day. So we're hoping to have it open, but it definitely will be open for K-Fest, so we shouldn't have an issue with covering any fireworks for fire prevention. Just to keep you apprised of that situation. But John St. Clemente, who's doing the project, they have the culvert in, they're coming along at a good pace. The DPW, half of our DPW workers this week have been working on the fields. The municipal field has been aerated and seeded. The inactive baseball fields have been weeded, and the clay transitions from the infield to the outfield. We have a special machine that transitions the dirt so that the players don't get injured. And I'm suggesting the football team is supposed to, one of the football teams is supposed to play on the main field this week, and it's been aerated and seeded this week. And they're supposed to have a scrimmage there next Wednesday night, so maybe we can coordinate that with football. Maybe we can line the practice field, being we haven't done the seed and the sod there yet, you know? So maybe we can get them and line that practice field and keep them off that main field so we can keep it pristine for the season. The West Lake section of Faison Lakes has been swept and the berms and potholes repaired. I know we get a lot of complaints about the West Lake section of Faison Lakes. But we do intend to pave it, all right, but not this year. We do not have it in the budget this year. We do believe we have enough. Decker Terrace is very poor condition. We intend to do that this year. We're looking at Tilcon to give us the appropriate number. Their man was on vacation this past couple of weeks. He's got to give us an estimate on that project. We'd like to pave Decker Terrace. It's a little more expensive because in the back section we got to mill to the curb lines. So that costs us about $7,000 more in order to mill them when we pave that back section. But it is it's in desperate need of being paved, and we realize that, so we're going to work on it. We currently have 300 to 400 ton of salt in the shed, with approximately $22,000 only left in our budget for this year. So hopefully, Mayor, we're not going to get any snowfall this year, you know. It's currently costing us about $79 a ton to purchase that salt, which is up. You'd think the cost would go down with the fuel costs coming down. Even with Tilcon, with the asphalt, their prices have remained high this year, even though the decline in the fuel prices. But we're held to a monopoly kind of, because they're the only ones we can utilize, unfortunately. Clean Communities has given us $16,000 this year. We're allowed to use 20% of that cost to clean up the debris that's left in sweepings, because it costs us money to take the sweepings off the street. So we were allowed to use some of that money this year. We had about $3,500 in expenses to get rid of the cleaning for the poor road conditions left from the winter of last year, with sweeping all the salt and the grit that we do apply to the streets. And Jim, I'd like to add also, that would be a great idea if we could do that, okay? Because, I mean, 1,300 is not the majority of voters. It really is 7,000. It was run by the Democratic Club. If somebody came to me with that petition, I would have signed it also. Because it was given out that people would given, I think, misrepresentation, saying, oh, the council wants to give out and state that it's going to give kids cancer. I would have signed it too. I don't want to give children cancer. That's the last thing I would ever want to do. But 99% of the fields in this country are the new fields. They're all artificial turf. And they've perfected, I believe. But I don't have all the information. And we're supposed to have meetings developed by our chair of coordinating, Carol. You're supposed to have meetings, and I've asked you numerous times, when are we having the meetings to discuss the turf so everybody can be informed and given the right information? I believe we have so much misinformation out there, I don't know the right information. I don't think anybody here on the council has 100% of knowing what the right information is. I do know, and I do feel that it's less costly to have a turf field than to have a natural gas field. I've watched what they've done over in the high school and put $250,000 into grass a couple of years ago, but nobody can use it. Well, God forbid, the geese use it, because we see that down from the field down here. People bring in geese down to our council meetings and tell us, how bad it is. So I think we really need, Carol, if we can coordinate some meetings and get some people that know more about the subject into these meetings.
I have recently reached out to both Nike and as well as 2 local physicians here in town that spoke previously. I have not heard back from Nike or from the doctors as to when they would be available. So I have been reaching out, but there's no date specifically planned.
I know we've been planning this for a long time, but, I think, and then everybody gets their backs up thinking, oh, it's going to raise taxes, which if you research it, the tax implication for that field is minuscule compared to purchasing open space and developing a field. So, there's many different things that we have to consider with this situation. So, that's all I'm saying. And Mayor, I do have to ask you, how do you stand on this position? We haven't heard you say anything about it. So, I'm asking you, how do you feel about it?
Dan, I think that it's just inappropriate to ask people where they stand on an issue that is so divisive. My position is quite simply this. I've told and made statements in public. This issue has divided our community. And unfortunately, I think what it's done is it's pitted neighbor against neighbor. I think Councilwoman Sventi took the position, I think, very clearly at the last council work session that we need to come together back as a community. I think we've had some very intelligent testimony on both sides of the issue. And I think that at the end of the day, I think we all acknowledge one thing. We need additional fields in town. Our rec program does not have adequate fields for our program. And the good news is we've got a very dynamic recreation program. I think the good news is that we have scholar athletes that are doing very, very well. I'm very proud of the fact that the football team basically won a championship on a grass field here. Very proud of that a couple years ago. I'm a fiscal conservative. I've run the last, some 15 years on that basis. I don't know if the cost-benefit is there for us, I have to be honest with you. But I think from my perspective, until we have hard numbers, I think it's very difficult to take a position with it. I will tell you that I'm very, very concerned about the health issues. I think we've had a lot of testimony about that, and may require us maybe just going a little slower. I think that could be the end game here. I know that I have reported to the balance of the council, we are aggressively seeking property that could be in fact developed for green fields at this point in time. We have environmental constraints, but we are faced with a challenge that's pretty unique in the Highlands region. But my preference is green fields. I think the public has said that repeatedly to us as well. We just don't have enough fields. But until numbers are put on the table, I don't think that I can either support or basically take a position against it. But I will tell you that I have a very concern about health issues. Hopefully that addresses your question.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Now moving on to public safety and technology. Councilman Barish. I just saw someone put their hand up. We have a public session when the public will be more than welcome to come up and address the council.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Let me just segue by adding my notes on the fields. I'm happy to hear everybody so far wanting to put it out to the community for a vote. And I've said it from when I was a candidate that I think that the turf issue is bigger than any one of us up here on the dais, and the public needs to have a say in it. The point that you want to wait and see what the amount is, I think, is fairly stated and well stated. But the one thing that this has done as we've gotten to this point is it certainly has brought up the dialogue on it. And in fact, tonight, as Jim stated, we're going to have some consent agenda resolution items that are going to authorize some significant improvements to the municipal practice fields in the back that are going to make us move towards the end game of improving all of our natural grass fields. In fact, I'm even getting some cooperation from the county. Our friends in Morris County OEM have, upon me reaching out, offered to lend us 4 lighting units for the duration of the time we need them, which could in fact save us anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 depending on the length of time it takes to complete the job. You'll find that it is in the resolution to fund it, and that is because they're coming from OEM. If there were to be some kind of natural disaster and these lights are needed elsewhere, then we didn't want to have it that we're kind of stuck in a bind. But we may actually be able to either reallocate that money or just save it for the taxpayers as this project progresses. So I thank everyone for having a level head about the whole thing. All right, so moving on to public safety. The Kinnelon Police Department reports that it's been kind of quiet. I reported last week that they've ordered a new Taurus 4-wheel drive for the chief. The Explorer that he's driving is going to move down to one of the detectives who's got a 2006 vehicle with over 100,000 miles on it that is getting expensive to operate. So we do have a capital project in place, a timeline where we replace vehicles instead of letting them get to the point that they cost us too much money. So we're in essence following that timeline and replacing them as they go. So we've also ordered a new Tahoe, and that's through the Morris County Co-op. We're going to retire an older Crown Vic. Both cars are going to go on auction on govdeals.com. We've been using that very successfully. I also reported that last week, that the chief and the DPW superintendent have been working together to put a lot of our old, what otherwise would have been junked items on this government auction website, and we've actually made back about $7,000 in what would have been thrown away just years ago. So they're doing really well with that. The records room has been moved to the 3rd floor of Borough Hall. For the police, they purchased the new rifles and semi-automatic shotguns. Those are after about a dozen years. They needed to be replaced, so that was part of our capital plan. They report having a very successful junior police academy in July with 42 kids participating in the week-long program. They had 2 college students who returned. They were majoring in criminal justice and previous graduates of the academy, and they were real pleased and very proud of them to be there. 4 of our officers participated in the National Night Out hosted by the Butler Police Department. And lastly, that we've begun negotiations. Butler handles our 911 after hours, and that interlocal agreement will be continuing, hopefully, and that's going to be worked out between the police departments at this time. The fire company, we've been working on replacement for Tanker 33. You've heard me talk about it meeting after meeting about the leaks that it has. Last week I brought some information back to the council indicating that a trade value on that was roughly $25,000, but if we were to sell it and directly on whether it was a website or one of 3 or 4 other used fire apparatus companies, we could expect to get somewhere between $52,000 and $53,000 and pay a commission of about 10% for selling that. With that, the council was satisfied that I believe and kind of instructed that we go forward with the new vehicle. So I've instructed the fire company to begin work on speccing the replacement for Tanker 33, and thus we have to join, and I guess the information will be forthcoming from them, the Galveston-Houston Co-op, where we would save approximately $50,000 plus, because it included delivery charges and other stuff that the state contract in New Jersey did not cover, and that would be no cost to the borough. The chief reports that there's 12 incidents in July. They assisted at the Junior Police Academy. We had an engine there. The July 4th car wash went well in spite of the rain. They thank the residents for coming out. We had a lot of people who just stopped by to donate funds and not even go through the car wash. So it was really quite a day to see these people stop in and shake some hands and see. There was a question about fireworks at K-Fest, which at this point it appears that we're going to be going forward with, so I think that's already been reported back to the chief. Lastly, from the fire company, is members are desperately needed. There's talk between the chiefs and myself now about doing a very public recruitment campaign. Many calls recently have been handled by really a chief and a member, chief and two members during the day specifically. And usually that's one person, one piece of apparatus, so you might have two engines, two firefighters, and a chief on an activated alarm during the day or a CO alarm. And if that kind of continues, it's dangerous to the community, it's going to be dangerous to the fire company. So we have very strong mutual aid programs in place so that if we do know that there's a real fire or a smell of smoke or a danger or a hazard, we can get a very quick response from, depending on where it is, West Milford, Bloomingdale, Butler, Riverdale, Pequannock, Montville, Lincoln Park, Boonton Township. They can come from all angles depending on where we need them. In fact, there was a pretty large structure fire just the other day 2 houses away from the Kinnelon line on Jacksonville Road in Pequannock, and they ended up not needing us, but the same goes for them. Everybody, all the fire companies around us are in the same kind of dire circumstances. So, if you're 14 or older, male or female, we need the help.
Adam, can I ask you a question on that? Does it have to be a Kinnelon resident?
At this time, I believe it can be outside of Kinnelon. Maybe if our chief is still here at the public portion,
right,
he can comment on what his understanding is.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that question.
Thanks.
On public safety, a couple things on tonight's agenda as well is a resignation letter from Ernie Palatucci, our OEM coordinator. He's just not able to keep up with the demands of the job and keep Kinnelon prepared the way it needs to be. I'm avoiding putting my hand up for that. So hopefully, I've already been talking with the fire chief and the chief of police to find us at least give us a direction or find us some potential replacements, and then once I have those, I'll convene the Public Safety Committee, and we can have a discussion on it, but I don't want to waste anybody's time.
What does that job entail for people to know if to be interested, or?
There's a...
Besides that, yeah. He's gone.
Yeah, I don't carry my pager tonight. There's classes, an 800 level class, which essentially teaches you NIMS, National Incident Management System. So you need to be able to coordinate between interagencies. The job of the OEM coordinator is essentially to have the borough prepared, to have this borough prepared for when something's hitting the fan, as it were. Tabletops, what-ifs scenarios, and then when that stuff is hitting the fan, being able to call in resources as necessary, make sure that the resource lists are up to date, coordinate between the chief of police, the fire chief. I kind of fell into that. Harry Hicks was away during Sandy, so as deputy OEM coordinator, it fell to me. And essentially, for anybody that was up there, the mayor, you guys, we're in the EOC, the meeting room upstairs, and just constant contact with the state, the county. We had the number of chiefs there. We were coordinating between the phone calls coming in, emergency, non-emergency, and allocating resources. So you need an emergency background because you need to understand the incident command system and how that all works.
So as far as schooling, what would you need?
Best to have an IMS incident management system level 1, 2, and 3, which ICS 400 is the class ultimately. So that's, I think it's an 8-hour class, a 16-hour class, a 24-hour class.
I mean, but if they took the position, it would be open and they could go to
you can get the training. Yes, you could. There's actually
just so we don't, stifle the...
Yeah, good point. There's a state class coming up very soon, I think in the next week or two. It takes place down in Trenton. I've been through that, which is...
It's non-paid?
Unpaid.
Is it volunteer job?
Yeah. Harry was volunteer.
Yeah, she just mentioned, I think that we were lulled into a sense of security with Harry, because he just did a lot of background effort with really I think having been in the position for a lengthy period of time, he just seemed to do it seamlessly, and in dealing with
Well, it was
Ernie
easy for him because he was in Florida when the
storm
I got to do the job.
The technical aspect of this is huge.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Dam studies, meeting with county officials, state officials, Trenton classes. I think we're going to have to come up with a pretty comprehensive description of ultimately what it entails, but Mr. Palatucci's time here was a lot greater than I initially indicated to him, so I won't say I misspoke, but once again, not realizing the technical nature of this, it just really is intense.
When I read his letter, that's why I said, let me ask Adam how much work this is.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
didn't
lot.
even mention the back-end office stuff, which is dealing with FEMA and having our EOP, our Emergency Operations Plan, updated every year to the county, and that's the paperwork.
So you're telling me all these towns in New Jersey have a volunteer that does that position?
Some are paid, most are volunteer.
Because, I mean, it seems
Some
like
are-
a lot of work and a lot of responsibility for someone that's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mayor Budesheim was is Riverdale's OEM coordinator.
That's a great idea.
Right? You have the mayor
The
do it.
mayor does it, yeah.
And he's been a firefighter.
All in favor?
I've learned if you don't sleep, you get a lot more done, but, appreciate that.
All right, I'll continue. Also under public safety, I already mentioned it before, is that thank you to Morris OEM, and once that's complete, I imagine we'll send them a nice thank you note for the use of the lights. We're going to grab one of them in the near future to test them, because they say that they have multiple lights on the towers, and usually they're a little bit more effective than the ones you might rent. So if we don't need 4, they'd prefer we take less, obviously. So we'll bring one over, we'll give it a try, and see what we think we need. Well, but we have access up to the 4. Let me move on to technology so I can get through this paperwork here. Infrastructure, the servers that we've been working on for about 6 or 7 months, maybe it's 8 months now, are being installed this week. The phones are nearly complete. I think Karen is no longer taking every single call. She was playing operator for many weeks here. Police are not handled yet. The library's not done yet. And there's one other section that's not done yet, right? I believe. Oh, and DPW is not complete, right, that's the other part. So right now, the new phones are only in the main borough hall here. I know we've gone through little gyrations with the voicemails and the auto attendants, so there might be another week or so of pain as that happens. The rest of the cutover is planned to be next week, I believe. We just did this, there's all kinds of acronyms, CSR, in order to have the numbers all moved so that they can properly route through the new system. So I got my fingers crossed that the phones will be working next week and in very good shape. Computers should stop crashing. The email server is being taken offline tomorrow at 1 o'clock as they close up for business. And we may have some ins and outs over the weekend for any borough email addresses. And Monday we should be good to go with everybody's email back online with the same access and the same tools you have now. But we'll be able to add email addresses for all of the other public employees or commissions as we spoke about. Tonight also we need to authorize the mayor to sign the Zaffer contract. That's our IT vendor. That's on the consent agenda. It's a slight increase from 3 years ago when they took over from the prior company, but the infrastructure has certainly grown, and with the new servers and whatnot, the responsibilities have. So the contract, as we talked about at the workshop, it's a per node contract, meaning we're paying by the computer. They're not charging us for the printers, the switches, the copier, the mailing machine, the firewalls, and all the other stuff that's on the system, which has certainly grown as well. Our main scanner, for instance, is our main copier upstairs. So the contract is more than fair. I did take the time and shopped it, and I know what we pay for it at our businesses, and I think Zaffer is going to do a great job for us. So that's a one-year contract we're signing. We're permitting the mayor to sign tonight. Lastly, on the website, we're getting kudos from many people. Actually, Jim, if you can work on the photos, we can even enhance that a little bit further. We tweaked the calendar. There's some complaints on the calendar that we can only get the next 2 items, and if that wasn't until pretty far away, you didn't have that on on the main page in the center module. So that scrolls a little bit now to get more events on there. I think we're getting 4 or 5 on there. We also had an issue that was brought to my attention that the community calendar, if you clicked on that button, you saw nothing, and that was because it was defaulting to no calendars selected. You'd have to know to go to the top left to filter or sort calendars and click on all, or click on the ones you wanted to look on. So we've defaulted that to all, so you'll get all the information, whether it's rec-related, meeting-related, workshop-related, and then, as you figure your way through it, you'll be able to filter down and just get the rec sign-ups if you want, or just borough meetings, that kind of thing, etc. So those were the two things we've fixed on that. And lastly, many people are taking advantage of the service request button. That came up big on the Facebook survey that we'd done early on, and we're getting probably 3 or 4 a week, whether it's a sign that's missing, pothole reports, all kinds of things. So that's been very successful. We're going to continue to monitor what the biggest used parts of the website are, make sure they're front and center, and continue to add things. You'll also note, if you happen to be on looking at agendas or minutes, that there's a column that says audio coming soon. And last week's meeting, with the blessing of the council, we're going to add audio from the workshops, the council sessions, eventually the planning board, and all these things that are recorded. So you don't have to necessarily come in and file an Oprah request and get a CD. You'll just be able to go online, click on it, and listen to an MP3 of whatever you want. So there's a little bit of logistics there, and just ask your patience, but I thought it's important to know that we're doing everything we can in transparency and keeping people involved. So we're seeing more and more people at the meetings just out to hear what's going on, and I think that's terrific. So with that, thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. Now moving on to Finance. Councilman Cobell.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee met this past week with a licensed CMFO, that's a Certified Municipal Financial Officer, to discuss the possibility of his helping our acting CFO on an ongoing basis. The gentleman had several ideas as to how he and a group of other CMFOs could help us in the long term. The committee agreed that the best course of action would be for the committee to meet with this gentleman along with our acting CFO and our auditor to get his ideas on how he could mentor and augment our acting CFO. The committee intends to have that meeting hopefully this week, if our acting CFO is available. I was told that she might be going on vacation this week. She is? Okay. So we'll have to schedule that then as soon as possible. We also want to have a committee meeting this week to discuss the Faison Lakes and Girl Scout camp requests that we were given last week, and to review the resumes. I would prefer to do that with our acting CFO present, because she's got the most detail on what the office needs. But as you know, we had a resignation in our business office that has to be filled, and we have received a few resumes that have some potential, and I'd like to discuss them with her and the committee. I'd just like to kind of add on to what Jim brought up earlier with regard to a referendum on the fields. I think it's the way we should go at this point, and but I would like to see a final, an accurate cost number that the public would have in order to help make a decision. I would also like to see the seminars that we've been talking about for a while, and one was canceled obviously in February. I think it was February.
December 1st.
December 1st? Okay, well, it was a while ago. But I'd like to see those meetings held first, because I think before we have a referendum, I think we should get as much accurate, professional information out there to the public as possible. But having gotten that information out there, I think, as I said earlier, that's the way we should go, and I support what Jim said earlier about doing that. It's the end of my report.
Thank you, Steve. Now moving on to coordinating open space. Councilwoman Sventi.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, for the Board of Adjustment, there was no meeting this month, and for Board of Health, there was no meeting this month. The Library Trustees, the Friends of the Kinnelon Library's annual book sale starts in earnest 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and will run Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Bag Day is on Monday. Most books are... Bag Day is the last day of the book sale where you can come to the book sale at Kiel Ave Firehouse. They'll give you a bag and you can fill it up for $5. As many books as you can put in that bag, you can buy for $5.
It's an easy way of clearing the shelves, too.
Bingo. Most books right now are priced between $1 or $2. There are great selections. These volunteers, between 60 and 70 volunteers, have gone through and cleaned each book. They've sorted, categorized, shelved, so that the firehouse on Kiel Ave looks like a small library. It's an amazing thing that they do there. It's well worth just going to see if you haven't ever been. Children's books are sorted from the adult books, fiction from nonfiction, mysteries from philosophy, from religion, sci-fi, from fantasy books. So it's a great little sale, and all proceeds go to support programs at the public library. Their new program specialist, Kim Christian, along with Ann Mandaniaki, have been very busy. They're debuting a Pilates class, which filled up in less than 2 weeks, babysitting certification and pet CPR, and they're also planning a teen open mic night. And their new technologist's first class in adult internet basics will be coming up, I think that's in October. Let's see. They've also started at the library through SquareUp.com. They are now accepting credit and debit cards. Their soft open was about 2-3 weeks ago, and the reception has been very positive. Patrons may pay fines, lost item fees, and adult and teen program registration fees via their debit or credit cards. Historical Commission, the Phase 2 of LaCole Restoration, actually it's Phase 2, Part A. They were awarded a grant from the county to replace the roof, and that should be happening. More paperwork coming up in the next few months on that. Also, the Environmental Commission is looking forward to the introduction of the tree ordinance tonight, as well as looking to attend the September Open Space Advisory Committee meeting. They would like to offer their assistance and help with the Kinnelon trail mapping project that the Open Space Advisory Committee is looking into. For the Open Space Advisory Committee, right now they're still waiting to hear as to whether or not they will receive the federal trail grant. If that is awarded, that project would start in April of 2016 with a completion date of November 2016. And now for the news you've all been waiting for, with the Board of Ed and the New Jersey DEP permits. As Jim reported, the permits were resubmitted on August 11th. I've been back and forth several times with the engineer. As I reported last week, New Jersey DEP is requiring additional infiltration testing be done on and around the Kinnelon High School football field. The cost would be about $7,000, which would cover the scope of the work, and Masser's working with New Jersey DEP and hope not to have to do this work as it would require digging holes in the field. The engineers, as I said, have resubmitted the application to New Jersey DEP, and this will allow all other aspects of the submittal, in other words, the transition area waiver and the flood analysis, etc., to be reviewed. It would also allow Masser to further review the percolation testing needs. And at this point, Masser said that it appears that New Jersey DEP is going to require the percolation testing, but Masser is still hoping that something else can be worked out, because nobody wants to dig holes in the field and ruin everybody's football season. And that being said, that is the end of my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Now moving on to personnel and ordinance. Councilman Giantonio.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Before I actually get to the substance of my report, a couple of short matters. Mayor and council may recall, I think back in January, let me back up. I'm also president of Lake Reality. Back in the early part of the year, we had gotten a letter from the state giving us a deadline to provide the state with a design for rehabilitating the dam in our lake. Again, just to remind our residents, it's got nothing to do with being unsafe or anything like that. Just with the past couple of hurricanes we had, there were several dam breaks in northern New Jersey, so New Jersey revised all the regulations. So now we have to get our dam up to meet those regulations. It's not in any danger in any way, but we have to meet the state's regulations. So the letter we got several months ago from the state said you need to have a design in place by June 1st. Our engineer, whom we had already retained, wrote to them to get an extension. The extension was given to us until October, and our engineer recently advised us that he is most of the way through the design and should have it to us within the next couple of weeks, so that whole process is moving along. Next, I didn't tell him I was going to do this, but in our audience tonight we have an incoming sophomore, David Vormbrock, who's a Boy Scout, and he's sitting here taking notes as part of a requirement for being a Boy Scout. He has to sit through one of our meetings, which he'd probably rather be outside camping in the snow than sitting here. But I bring it up mainly to point out that David's been a lifelong Boy Scout. He's doing a fantastic job working ultimately towards his Eagle Scout designation, but I also want to thank everyone here for being hospitable to him. We haven't started yelling or anything like that, so I think that's a good thing. So thank you for coming, David. And Mom Colleen, thank you for bringing him. Now, my report, Mayor, thank you. First, personnel. We had a short meeting with the union representatives regarding the personnel contract. You will recall at the workshop, I told you how our labor attorney literally threw his back out getting out of the car before our meeting. So we were only able to meet for a relatively short period of time with the union representatives. We exchanged a couple of ideas, but then we ultimately called off the meeting because Brian was obviously in a lot of pain. We have set a tentative date to meet again with the union representatives this week coming up, so hopefully we can continue where we left off with that meeting. There are a couple of union issues that we need to speak about in closed, and Brian will be here to discuss those later on. Also, unfortunately, I was under the weather this week. I wasn't able to contact Karen, our clerk, to go through the personnel manual regarding town personnel tattoos and possible use of the chief's car in certain instances, which I will discuss with Councilman Barish and O'Doherty as to what limitations we may want to put on that. Ordinances. The CCO, I think I'm going to arrange a meeting in the next couple of weeks with the Ordinance Committee to go through that again. I know in the past there had been raised concerns about that. It was brought to our attention again last week at the workshop. So I'd like to sit down with the Ordinance Committee and see if we can work through that and possibly get something that the public would find acceptable. We have the tree ordinance tonight. I will reserve my comments for that. When we get to that, it's later on in the agenda, and I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have, if I can answer them. Lastly, with regard to a sign ordinance, I'm going to reach out to Cheryl Kinnelon. I have not heard back from the planning board on their draft of the sign ordinance, but I'm hoping to get that soon. And that is my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Cliff. Just two other things before we open the meeting to the public. I'm extremely encouraged and pleased that the council now appears ready to take under consideration a referendum. I first raised this issue over 3 years ago in a work session, and I've raised it 3 times, last time last week in a work session. So I am encouraged that we are at least entertaining the possibility of doing a town-wide referendum that will allow the people to have a voice in this matter. I think that it's been so divisive. I think this, in fact, could be an opportunity for the community actually to come together and address what tends to be a very challenging issue for the borough. Last item, we are not going to meet again between now and school opening. It has been an extremely fast summer, and I don't know why summers seem to fly, winters for those non-skiers in the audience seem to drag on, but I'm just going to ask that you once again be aware of the fact that in a couple weeks school buses will be back out on the routes with our students waiting for transportation, and traffic will increase. So school will be open, as far as I know. I haven't heard differently. So once again, just ask that you exercise due care in your travels around the borough, and wish all of our students a very successful upcoming school year. Now close the council portion of the public council committee meetings, and now moving on to hearing from the public. Anyone from the public wish to be heard this evening, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and be heard.
Good evening. Avery Hart, 5 Cherry Tree Lane. I would like to address the matter of the fear that you had about the inaccuracy of the numbers on the petition, since it is my name that is on the petition, and I composed the letter with other members in the community and signed it. Mine is the name on the petition, and I feel I must defend the accuracy of the numbers. Perhaps the discrepancy that you are finding between the purchase of artificial turf and the number on the petition is that I included in that the hauling away to the landfill after 7 to 10 years of an artificial turf field, and I also included the chemical maintenance that would have to occur for the field's life. So you may find some discrepancies, and perhaps you didn't consider those expenses, but I did when I composed those numbers, and I stand by those numbers. I'd also like to say, Mr. O'Dougherty, you mentioned that the geese find the natural fields. I assure you the geese find all fields. They will also find any artificial fields that may be placed in town. Although I don't think that will happen, because as a person who, along with others, was out in the community collecting signatures, I can assure you that for many people, the expense of the field was not the number one item. We heard from people whose families had been impacted by injured knees, burns, and other problems, health problems created by fields. From some of the people in our town who have relatives who live in other fields, we heard many stories. And I would say in general, there was a preference for natural green fields because those fields had been the fields that had been played on for generations, generations, and generations of children with no special health problems. So I did want to mention that and stand by those numbers. Also, for later on, this is a little off topic, but I do have some of the football, the
booster...
What do you call it? The booster things that were given to me by some of the football mothers, and I have them, so please, outside, if we have a break, the public should know that they are available. They're $20 each, and they support our football teams. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. Alexander Carmichael at 6 Dairy Galley Circle. If you recall, in June, I made a presentation regarding the summer camp, and my chief concern was that it was 3 weeks rather than 8. I then, a few weeks later, had a very productive meeting with Melanie, and she gave me kind of the background on what was going on and so forth, as to why that was and what concerns were and so forth. So I was very heartened, and this is mainly for Councilman Frieda. I was mainly heartened that you now are considering a 6-week program for the next summer. So my question would be, obviously, since I was arguing in favor of 8, like neighboring towns, what has kind of changed? Because I think when I met with Melanie, she said you guys were at 4. So what has kind of changed in favor of this good development?
Again, it's just a discussion with the Rec Commission. It's not a firm number, no. She mentioned extending, and I just used that number as an extension. But it could be. What happened is CCD usually falls in the middle of it, and we lost a lot of kids off the CCD, so it never really made sense. But now there will be no CCD in the summers anymore, so we thought we can extend it and make it more weeks. So I apologize, because I did realize there is 2 more weeks. So but the Rec Commission has not discussed how long they're going to extend it. So I know what the mayor's going to tell you is probably the same thing I'll tell you, is this is really a decision that's made by the Rec Commission. So those are the guys you have to talk to.
Okay, yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the meeting that
Yeah,
was
that's
held
fine.
last night, but I'll make sure to make the next one.
Yeah, no, and there's a couple Rec Commissioners here now. If you want to reach out to them on the way out the door, they'll talk to you. And
Okay, will do. Thank you.
it's the guy with the K on his hat. Right there. And the girl to your right now, the woman to your right, that's the other one, okay.
Council members, Tom Stern, 8 Rockwall Terrace. Tried to pay my water bill today with my Visa card, and they don't accept Visa. Just wondering if that was an intended thing or if that was going to be fixed.
That's got to be an error. The only thing we don't take is Amex.
You go to our site and then you put it in and it sends you to another site, like I guess a payment site,
Yeah.
and they accept everything but Visa, like
Oh, that's
even
a
obscure ones. So
I'll check with that tomorrow with our CFO, and I thought they took Visa.
yeah, I find that hard to believe. That's one of the, yeah.
Might have been
I'll
lit from
leave myself a note.
the new website.
Thanks, Tom.
Cliff, what was your question for the chief while he's...
Oh, thank you. With regard to volunteers for the fire department, do they have to be Kinnelon residents?
Oh, as Adam alluded to, I can absolutely back up that,
I know there may be insurance concerns, things like that.
yeah, I forget what the town regulation is. I think that's in the ordinance as to whether that is the case or not, and I don't recall it right now. I know that we do have some members who live just outside the borders, but they also were residents here when they joined, so they were permitted basically to grandfather in, as, that had a lot of value to it.
Okay.
But
It seems to me, obviously, you open up a lot of potential volunteers if they're allowed to come from at least neighboring towns.
yeah, I mean, that's what, with the hat on that I do, the more people I show up at my scenes, the happier I'm going to be. If they're able-bodied, I don't care where they live. I just want them to do the good job. So my personal opinion is, don't restrict it to just the borders. I mean, there's people who I think, I don't think all the DPW workers live in town. So if they're here for 40 hours, 50 hours a week, and they're able to assist at a fire, well, why wouldn't we use those resources,
Right.
in my opinion?
Let's work together on that. I'll look at the ordinance too, and if it does seem to limit it to residents, maybe we can talk and see if there's something else we can do to open that up for you.
Yeah, Tom, maybe you can bring that back to the corporation and we'll look at the bylaws.
I will, yep. All right.
As long as I'm here, the ordinance does not limit it to residents, although the bylaws might, but specifically the ordinance does not.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Richard Werner, Chilhowie Drive. Question, again, on the turf. If for some reason the Board of Ed simply decided not to go forward with it, would there still be a referendum?
No.
I would think not, because we couldn't do it, right?
We looked at doing a turf field down here at the municipal field. We'd love to do that. That would be our #1 priority. They want $400,000 in legal fees to fight the DEP and the Highlands Act. And just before you put a shovel in the ground, the legal entities in the state, they told her they gave us an estimate $400,000 to fight them. So why would we want to even go, spend $400,000 something that may not even...
I'm asking the question. If the Board of Ed simply says we're not going to do anything except maintain the existing turf, the existing natural grass, then there wouldn't be a turf referendum, correct?
That's correct.
Sorry?
Probably, no place to put it.
No place to put it.
Okay, thank you. On the consent agenda, what are the total dollars involved with items M, N, O, and P?
That's the proposal that we talked about at the workshop.
That was the 70,
Have it too.
Item, I guess it's item 11, then M, N, O, and P, related to the
I
municipal field.
believe it was
We actually had
$57,000.
we had two separate proposals given for,
Right.
and this is regarding the practice field. Option 1 represented irrigation, renovation, bluegrass sod roll that Councilman Frieda was talking about, and lighting. The total came to $60,900 as put on the table at our work session. and we're actually scratching diesel gasoline for lighting, so the number will be under consideration tonight, $59,900.
For items M, N, and O?
Right. $17,500 for irrigation, $20,900 for renovation, $17,100 for bluegrass sod, and $4,400 for lighting rentals.
Okay, so it's M, N, O, and P.
Correct.
Round number 60,000?
60,000 is round number, yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening? Good evening.
Bill Curran, 523 Pepper Street Lane. I rise tonight to address the $900,000 in revenue we're going to get from, Kinnelon is going to get from allowing Butler the excess sewer capacity. So with that $900,000, I assume, with that $900,000, I assume we're going to get a tax cut. Everyone will get a check for $300 or so. Everyone who pays taxes gets a check. Those of us that don't pay our taxes don't get a check. Is that correct, sir? Mr. Mayor?
We haven't received a check from Bloomingdale as of today.
I won't spend it then, okay.
So don't spend it. This $900,000 number that's being bantered about is a net number after we allocated $250,000 from surplus, I believe. So approximately. So the intent of this really was to take the money from the sale of sewer excess capacity, put it into surplus, and use it for tax relief in years 2, 3, and 4. I know that some residents have asked that it be basically dedicated by formal resolution, but as of right now, we haven't gotten the money, so I don't know how you dedicate something you don't have. But I think the council is fully aware of the fact that some members of the public have expressed concern that the dollars, in fact, could be used for other purposes. I think that tax relief was clear and loud, at least to me, regarding the use of the dollars that were recognized. The way I look at it, this is taxpayer money, and ultimately they should receive the benefit associated with it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Now, you know, and we all know, we've gone door to door. We go in people's homes, and you see they're really having a problem. I mean, if nothing, we have to take care of people that have less. Why bother, to go to services on Sunday or Saturday? Pardon my voice. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening? Mr. Charles? Mr. Charles? Mr. Charles? Mr. Charles, welcome.
This is fabulous. I mean, Jim and Dan, Steve and Cliff, did you get an epiphany in the last week? Something happened? All of a sudden, gee, we'll go for a special election.
Mayor, could we have this not just be insulting?
Yeah, I'll ask that you please make
All right, come back. You've decided, it's nice that the council has agreed they want to have a referendum. Why didn't we just cut to the chase and do it last week? We could have had it on the November ballot at no cost to the public. This would have been done. Now to come back.
There would be no information, false numbers, and we don't even know if we can do it.
The issue is, the people have a right to approve or reject the purchase of an artificial turf field in Kinnelon. That's what it is, cut and dry.
Okay.
That's what it is. Anyway, let's come back down. $900,000, I hope the council makes a decision to dedicate it for tax relief, not for artificial turf. That's our money. Thank you, Mayor Cisco, for having the foresight 20, 30 years ago to obtain that money through the public. The taxpayers paid for it. That's our money. Let's bring it back and let's do something no town does in New Jersey. Let's give the taxpayers a little bit of a break in the middle of this reevaluation underway right now. We have a town being reevaluated. It's going to be tough on a lot of people. We know that. So let's really keep this to where it belongs, keep it positive, and keep it active. Now, my other question is, there's been a lot of talk on the $1.2 million we have in the open space budget. We're going to have to finance this turf field one way or the other. Where is it coming? You don't want to do a bonding ordinance, because you know we'll do a petition real quick, and we'll get the signatures. It's not a problem. We have over 1,400 signatures. So if you're not going to do a bonding ordinance, where are you going to get the money to pay for this field? You're going to divert the $900,000 from the sewer money? It's a possibility. It's money that's got a check coming in, goes in the general treasury.
But I think, Randy, if I can, that there was a consensus tonight that they want to wait for the amount of money that this is going to cost and then put that out to the public, that do you want a field at X number of dollars?
Well, we're talking the financing part, because this was a big issue in the Trends.
It's possible that it could be out of open space money, which is not only open space, it's historical and recreation. It's possible to use those funds, which would not cost the taxpayers anything. It would not take any more of the 52% of preserved area that Kinnelon is and 29% purchased, and would not, because that is definitely an encumbrance upon our taxpayers. Every time we buy a piece of land, it takes money off the rolls.
When it's Highlands restricted, it's not on.
I didn't interrupt you when you were talking, did I? It does, any properties that we purchase takes that tax dollars, that rateable, off the tax rolls for Kinnelon, which is a good thing. We've done that. We've done the 52%. We've purchased 29% of it. And it has been a cost to the borough. To every taxpayer here, open space is a cost, which is a great thing. That's why everybody lives in Kinnelon. That's why we don't have, as Mayor Cisco said, our borough does not have sidewalks, which is a great thing. We moved out of the city not to have sidewalks. So I understand that. So open space is a positive thing. This whole council has been advocates of open space. But open space is also recreation and historical. We have used some of the historical money on Lake Hall doing that project. So it is feasible that we could use this open space money to fund that project.
Well, Andy, if I could just interject one point. Mr. O'Doherty's position, in fact, is in direct conflict with my own. I do not believe that, based upon my understanding of case law, and I'm not a lawyer, and also some correspondence with Senator Krylos' office, I do not believe that open space dollars could be utilized for the funding of the high school turf field if, in fact, it were to move forward. I think that it's very clear, and ultimately I think that that would not necessarily be decided by this body. It would may be decided in a court. But when Councilman O'Doherty says that we can use open space dollars for funding the turf field, I don't particularly agree with that position. Okay? I just want to be clear with the public.
Oh, absolutely. That's why it's for the record, Dan. I mean, unless the people in Trenton and the Office of Legislative Services aren't that smart, I tend to think they are. They say it right here. They come right out and they even cite the law, NJAC 7:36 1.1. It does not appear that current law concerning the use of local open space tax revenue can reasonably be interpreted to include the undertaking of long-term leases of land for recreation and conservation purposes. While these rules not define the terms acquire and purchase, they do define fee simple to mean the absolute ownership in land, unencumbered by any other interest or estate. Green acres funds, open space, may not be used for purposes of these leases. So, it's just to restate.
Oh, excuse me.
If you're going to move... Go ahead.
Excuse me. I do believe there are instances in 2 cases where open space funds have been utilized to develop turf fields. Don't quote me on it, but that's what I've been told. There are 2 instances. I don't have the documentation.
I'll find it. I'll find out. I'm going to be on the phone. I'm down there. I talk to them. But anyway, just to be real firm about it, the state's come out and said no. Contrary to our municipal council, it says no. You're going to have to find the money somewhere to finance this field. So you're not going to do a bonding ordinance or a funding ordinance.
Well,
you said it last week. You know we'll do a petition.
We never said that.
Never said we
You
would do a
alluded
bond.
to it.
No, in fact, I said last week that if we did a bond, then that would make your petition for lack of a better word, possible, because then you'd have an ordinance to challenge.
Absolutely, under Title
Right.
40, home rule,
And I said that's-
absolutely.
and if you remember last week, I said maybe that's the way to go. I threw that out there as a
Randy,
discussion point.
I'm hoping if we go out to vote, and the numbers are the right numbers, and they're accurate numbers, and it's voted yes, or it's voted no, it's respected by the people of Kinnelon.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Well, then-
Absolutely. But I'm making it very clear
I don't
on
have
the
to worry about, I
financing.
didn't finish. I don't have to worry about your petition for bonding, because if it's voted yes, it's going to happen. If it's voted no, it's not going to happen. And if it's voted yes, and you give us a petition, I have a problem with that,
Why?
because it was voted by the people of Kinnelon.
It would be
we'll
a
see.
second referendum on the same question.
Well,
You certainly
we had a
could do
chan-
it. You certainly could do it, but it would be a second
We had a chance
referendum.
last week for you, and you voted it down.
We didn't
Well, the
have
information isn't
numbers.
out there yet.
It's yes or no.
No.
Yes or no?
Yes or
Hey,
no
yes
to
or no?
what?
Are you
To how
willing to
much
spend
money?
unlimited money to put a turf field in Kinnelon? Is that what you want on there, so they all vote no? I want an accurate number so people know. Do you know, if we had it today and it cost $1 million, tax increase on your house per month would be $3. $3.
I really don't buy that. But
Oh, no, that's
anyway,
an accurate
just to make it
number.
very clear for the
No,
record.
accurate number.
$3.
For the record, it's not going to be $3. For the record, you have three options on funding this field. You got a bonding ordinance. You can move $900,000 from the sewer money, which we strongly recommend you don't do. And you can attempt to move the $1.2 million out of the open space budget. And we will fight you on that. You already know that.
I know that. That's why it would be
You
bonded.
will have a real problem
It
on
will
that.
be bonded on the question for the voters. This is what it will...
You have a problem. Now to come back to Dan's comment about the field in the back, Senator Smith refused to move that legislation that was approved by the Assembly out of his committee. I can get you the paperwork if you want it. It was rejected by Senator Smith, who was the head of the Senate Department of Environmental Protection. So it was not an issue of us going out and hiring lawyers. The bill was not moving out of his committee. It was rejected. So I just want to make sure that's clear for the record.
What was rejected?
The legal maneuver to get the towns removed from the exemption on the artificial turf in the Highlands bill. The towns were trying to obtain the same exemption, Title VI, exemption number 6 in the Highlands Bill Act. Senator Smith blocked it, and he still to this day will not let it move. So understand that. Make it very clear for everybody.
And you think that any other piece of property we buy in town, Senator Smith's going to say, it's okay, do what you want there?
He's not, because that's not going for him and asking for an exemption. It's a big difference, Steve. Sure it is. You're going to go over and you're going to get our two assemblymen, you're going to go over and get Weber or Mary Lou, and you're going to go over and get Joe Panaccio and ask them to refile and do it again after they just got slapped by the state Senate by not allowing it out of the committee?
Exactly.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. So how are they going
It's not going to
exempt
happen.
from any other piece of property in town?
I just do want to mixing oranges.
If I could just comment one, if you'll allow me, Randy. I do want to mention to the public that we have $1,276,000 in our open space trust fund, and that is for both active and passive recreation. The good news is that we have over $700,000 in planning incentive grants that will be preserved once we purchase the 6 acres over on Boudin Avenue. So in combination, you have close to about $2 million that could be leveraged to develop active recreation within the borough, providing that you go through the necessary permitting. So I think that, once again, in looking at, I'm not about the high school now, because the high school, I believe, is a leased field, leased use arrangement. I don't believe that satisfies the requirement from my perspective. So those dollars in the Open Space Trust Fund, as Jim mentioned, are for both passive and active recreation. So I just want to let you know that that's part of our continuing...
And that's the solution, is more fields.
And that's part of our continuing effort.
Our solution is and thank you, Councilman Barish and Mayor Collins, for moving something forward that hasn't moved in 10 years. The maintenance and putting together a procedure manuals, but it has to maintain these fields and these structures. This recreation program is fabulous. We owe it to them to maintain and provide them the best facilities they deserve. And by not taking care of them all these years, I apologize, I'm sorry, I did not know these facilities were in such bad shape until we started this 2 years ago. And I apologize. Some of us should have been paying a little more attention to it. But we are now, and thank you for moving forward this and putting the plans together. It's a big deal, and we appreciate it. And we also thank you for moving forward and looking for additional land and more fields that we own, that our teams deserve to play on. Not just football, but the soccer, boys and girls soccer, which is huge. The boys and girls lacrosse is huge. The football is growing. This is important. We need to provide those facilities now because the state's finances are not in that good a shape. We need to do what we have to do now with our infrastructure. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say one thing back to Randy that, maybe a long time in coming, but it's a full court press right now to get these fields in good shape and great cooperation from both Jim and Dan, and we're working together on that. So it's coming from DPW, it's coming from Rec, and while I appreciate the accolades, it's a team effort.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening?
Hi, my name's Kevin Goldstein, 175 Southland Road. I'm also on the Rec Commission. One thing I just would like to address, like everybody's talking about, I know everybody's so concerned, most of the people here are concerned about putting a turf field and worried about, they say often, the children that have to play on that. But none of them have any children that have to play on that. The people that don't want turf have very little interest or anything to do, will never even be on that turf. And I just ask everybody in the audience.
Kevin.
Right.
Opportunity to address the council, okay?
Well, but this is for the audience.
Right, but no, this is for the council. This is for the council, yes.
And for the audience.
Okay.
It is, what is your mission? Like, what do you want to establish? Like, why no? Like, my kids deserve better than what they have today.
Kevin, listen. If you want to talk to the crowd,
okay.
Listen, go outside.
My kids deserve better than what they have today.
Correct.
I'll speak to you as the public.
Okay, great.
All right?
Thank you.
So my kids deserve better than that dirt bomb back there. All right? The man who just spoke before me, I'm so glad that he's talking about the fields, because nobody ever talked about the fields. He wants a solution. There's no doubt about it. And I wish he was on my side. I wish he was on my side. You know? Okay, that's great. Because if we all do this together, it'll happen. But I just want to make one thing very clear. Is turf the best thing? No. Turf isn't the best thing. But is it a...
Kevin, listen.
Is it the best thing?
No, I know your point, okay?
Is it... No, you don't know my point.
Three times, I'm asking you, please,
okay.
If you want to address the mayor
Is turf the best thing? I don't know that.
Right.
But is turf probably the best solution for such a small town? I think so. I mean, I think it is. I'd rather have my kids play on a grass field. I would. I'll be the first to say it. I'd like grass better than turf every day of the week. But the problem is, our grass doesn't last. And the expenses are going to go to the people of Kinnelon because we beat up. We don't have enough fields. So it is going to cost us, in the next 10 years, 5 times the amount that it would cost if we had a turf field. And that's my reason why I think it just makes so much sense. You know? Like, I'm not thinking this selfishly. This has nothing for me. I'll never play on that field. It's past my time. But for the kids that are coming up, they don't deserve what we have. And no matter how many times we fix the fields that we have, they're going to get ruined after every football and lacrosse season. It's the same old thing. It's been like that forever. And that's why the turf just made so much sense for this town. And Mr. Mayor, not for nothing, this is an extremely tough decision for you to sit there because you have to keep two sides happy, you know? And of course you're going to go, you're a politician. The best move you can make is to go with those people because they're going to vote you back in. But be Donald Trump and stand up and give us a turf field. Thank you.
I'll take that as a compliment, Kevin. Thank you.
You have better than Donald Trump.
Thank you, Councilman Copel.
My name's Mike Mastrola, 3 Academy Circle. hold on, 300, Elena, that was a bold intro. A little nervous. First time, my first council meeting was last week, and I've been close to this issue because I sit on the lacrosse board in town and I coach football. I moved to the town in 2011 from Oakland. Before that, I grew up in Fairlawn. Always, had a lot of respect for Kinnelon. That's why I live here now. Had I known this issue would be so divisive and what it's doing to the town, 5 years ago I might have made a different decision, to be completely frank. A lot of that is grounded in what Kevin said. I don't really understand why this is so divisive for the people. I tend to think it doesn't make sense. You're always going to be a minority, right? If you're in the programs, whether it's lacrosse, soccer, whether it's the motocross track that the guy wanted to build in the last meeting, you're always going to be in the minority, and that's not what builds a community in a town. Now, I'm really only here to address one thing, because I love this, I hurt my knee on the turf, I do this. Our kids are playing on the turf. Lacrosse, we had to rent space at Greystone. We had to rent space at Fairleigh Dickinson. We had our parents have to drive kids to these fields at 5 o'clock on a weeknight when they get home from work, because that was a better option than practicing lacrosse in a parking lot. We got access, and this could be due to the weather patterns, and I'm sure we have a lot of people in the room that want to talk about global warming and weather and, how we're going to kill the geese poop or whatever we're going to talk about. The bottom line is we didn't get access to those fields until mid to late April. Our lacrosse teams can't be competitive like that. They can't be competitive. It's not a matter of, yes, we need more fields. I agree wholeheartedly with Kevin. Lacrosse is a turf sport. At the end of the day, lacrosse today is a turf sport. It's a better sport on turf, faster sport on turf, and the bounces are the same. It's what colleges are playing on, right? I still play. That's what I like to play on when I play. But the bottom line is our kids aren't going to be able to be competitive if we get access. And it's not just lacrosse. It's soccer. It's all those spring sports are really going to suffer, and they're going to continue to suffer. So, I just don't understand the issue. I don't understand, what I'm going to do, because it's easy to talk about this stuff without a lot of facts behind it. I'm going to start going around to Montville, to these towns, and trying to understand better how they got this done. Did they have the same opposition in town? Because you're always going to be the minority. It doesn't matter. You're always, we have 130-something kids in the football program. How many people live in, it's always going to be the minority. It's true for all sports. And I want all the kids, for whatever sport they play, to have the best ability to be successful in this great town and in the future. So I just wish I wish the opposition would really just take a step back and really think about the community. Maybe go down to a football game on Saturday or Sunday and look at what football means to this community. And, maybe they'll get a different impression. Because I think it'll help property values in the long run. And if it's $3 on the taxes, you're going to make that back tenfold when you go sell your house. So I appreciate the time. I thank the great job the council's doing. I just, I really love the town. It's a shame I might have made a different decision 5 years ago. We can all up and move. I won't address them. But we're here. Our kids, the reason my daughter was in kindergarten in Oakland when we made the decision. My sister's a teacher in town in Stony Brook. She has been for years. But my daughter was in kindergarten, and my wife and I said, now or never. And where do we want to go? And we ended up here. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, it's okay with...
Jeannie Armstrong, 2 Shady Side Terrace. And I'm not involved in football or lacrosse. My son, my daughter, neither one play either sport. I played college sports. I graduated in '85, and I can tell you that sports have changed a lot since then. Yeah, we all would love to play on grass. I'm from Missouri. There's a lot of grass out there, and we have turf fields in Missouri. So all I can say is that it's not a matter of, buying new fields, even though that's great. Our fields never recuperate because now sports are year-round. So you don't play soccer just in the fall. You play soccer in the spring. So those fields can't recoup. No matter what we do to them, they're constantly being used. So I've been to many games still in college. College players play softball on their football fields because they're turf, and they have to get games in before the season's over. The turf field isn't just for football. It's to let all of our other fields recuperate, too. So I just want to agree with the people on my side that, if we could all come together, we could maybe find out the best solution. I think Jim has a great idea. Let the people decide. If it's $2 million or $1 million, let us decide. So thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Spinelli, 214 Kinnelon Road. And I agree with her. Let the people decide, and I'm 100% with that. And I wouldn't want to pull out a petition after if it's voted down. Wouldn't want to do it. Last week when I was here, I was really scratching my head. I was kidding around about a motocross track, and people wanted it. I thought that people maybe had printing presses. There's a lot of people hurting in this town, as Mr. Curran said before. I can woe is me and say, I'm making it, just making it, with the taxes. I don't have a mortgage. My taxes are killing me. I'm making it, though. All right? I wanted a dog park. I didn't want anybody else paying for this dog park. We have one in Montville. I'm the vice president of the committee. It's paid for with dues. That's how we have a surplus. Us without kids, we have the people who don't want it without kids. Let me tell you what I pay for kids around here. $1,000 a month. That doesn't include my taxes, the regular whole tax bill. It's just that. I know what the people want, and there's people hurting. Forget about me. Look at the other people. I've been giving you statistics, and they're all accurate, as Mark concurred. We're number one with property taxes. We're number one with exited states. That's really going to help our property values, as the gentleman before said. How is that going to happen? And we're number 4. As of 2 weeks ago, we may have changed by then, with foreclosures in this state. When are people going to wake up? I know when they're going to wake up. This place, you can't change these facts. You cannot change them. And I do feel sorry for the people who aren't making it out there. I don't know what else to say. We're divided, but unevenly, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening?
Bob Lewis, 37 Gravel Hill Road. I just want to address one thing. I'll wait till the mayor sits down. I'd just like to address one thing. At the end of the month, with all this renovation you guys are talking about, we're supposed to move our football teams over to the high school. No one's talked about, what I'm concerned about is what are we going to do to those fields? Those fields are heavily practiced right now by the football team, the high school. I believe the soccer teams practice over there. They play their JV games are played there. So we're going to march down there after they're all done using it, and we're going to come down with 125 children, and we're going to further deteriorate those fields. What are they going to do come springtime when they have to play their JV games there? Those fields are going to be in peril. So I don't think anybody's looked a little forward. What we're going to do across the street, why we rehabilitate over here. The high school fields are going to be a mess, and I don't think it's fair to the high school players and teams to do it. I just don't think anybody's thought about it.
I had a conversation with Melanie, I think you might have been there the other day, that she's going to work closely with Scott Rosenberg to make sure that they're irrigated, aerated, and seeded regularly, more so than it had been in the past. So I know there's conversations going on about it, and it is going to be monitored pretty closely.
you weren't here before, Bob, when I reported that we just aerated and did the field here, and we're asking maybe next week, when you have a game on Wednesday night, if you can use that field for a scrimmage, the old field. Don't use the new field yet, before we tear that field up. You know what I'm saying? If you can utilize it, we can line. I think it'll be big enough for your scrimmage game on Wednesday night. So, we'll see, you know. But I did ask John today if he could do that. He did say that he could.
Okay.
So, I know you have that schedule, but we know that it's a concern. Maybe we can coordinate with Scott. We have the equipment to do it. The Board of Ed does not have the equipment for the fields. We have purchased over the last few years this equipment that to help the fields. And it's not cheap stuff. So maybe we can aerate their practice field and get that seeded also. Maybe we can work that in with the Board of Ed. Maybe we can do some arrangements with them.
I hope it works, 'cause I really think come springtime, with the rainy season and just aerating and everything, it's just, there's not going to have enough time to grow. I really believe those fields are going to be in peril because what our players do to a football field with the night after night and the constant use and the repetition we get, it takes a beating, and that's why we need more alternatives. And I really think the high school fields are really going to be in sad shape, and I just can't believe we're going over there. But I know
I appreciate your concern, but I mean, we can't have it both ways back here. We can't come to meetings showing goose poop and glass and rocks and continue to let that go. So, you know, if they're going to play, they got to go somewhere. And the fact that the Board of Ed is going to work with us and that indeed we are talking about, you know, regular maintenance on it and how we're going to keep that down, but these need to be done. There's no question about it. So, you know, turf...
Okay. Well, that was my concern. With regard to the turf field, I am for the turf field. I think, I want to address the mayor, I think sometimes, the mayor, I believe that you have to make some decisions that may be against your constituency, because I believe, you know, that we're in the Highlands. I believe that we're in the Highlands, and I think that I think the quickest and most cost-effective way to get fields for the recreation people, for the recreation players, and improve the high school facility for the kids that go to school there. This is a twofold win-win for the rec and the high school all at once. And I think if you really took the lead on it and showed the town that it is probably the most viable plan, an expedient plan for this town, I think it would go a long way. And some people might not like it, but I really think that is the good answer, being in the Highlands as we are.
I have a news flash for you, Bob. I represent everybody. 10,248 people. I don't have a certain segment of Kinnelon that I represent. I work hard every day for the entire town here. We're trying to find a solution, and you're on the Open Space Committee, so
Yes,
you
sir.
should have a better understanding of the environmental constraints that we deal with in trying to find a solution here. This is not
That's why
an easy solution.
That's why I think the turf field
This
is
not an easy
the
solution.
most
And
expedient.
also, you're aware of the fact that the Board of Education property is not owned by the borough. So that's why we're partnering with them. At least the majority of the council is trying to do that. So we are moving forward in a collaborative fashion. You heard everybody out here and talk about development of recreation fields that are for our kids. Everybody's invested in the kids. We're just trying to find a solution. But I do not have a separate segment of this community that I represent. I represent you.
Well, we're waiting for fields.
Well, one other thing, if you weren't here for my report before, we're all waiting for the DEP to make decisions on the permits as to what goes on across the street with the percolation tests. We're all in a holding pattern right now.
Yeah, and I hope you all think that when those reports come in, that this is the best solution. It improves the high school. It improves the high school for the players there. I mean, I talked to Coach White last week. He said, Bob, that high school field is the worst field that is played on in the whole league. Okay, that was his to me. I mean, they're all looking for an improvement. Why don't we have the best facilities in this town? Why are we lacking? Why don't we have the best? Why aren't our kids afforded the best at the high school, okay, and the best down here, best down at the Muni field? I think that is the start. I think it's expedient. Just what I said. I mean, we're in the Highlands. We're boxed in here, and you're going to have to make some choices that maybe some people don't like. And I think it has to be done. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Joseph Igora from 4 Dogwood Trail in this town. I think we need a little historical perspective, especially for maybe some people who haven't lived here as long. I moved here nearly 40 years ago. I watched the town grow. Unfortunately, our town fathers didn't see fit to purchase open land at the time. But as they were allowing or agreeing, allowing land to be purchased by real estate developers who are building houses in a beautiful area that was very attractive to families with children. So we had one growing. Our population kept growing. The demand of, for sports kept growing. But on the other hand, nobody was thinking about meeting the needs of these kids and these growing families. I don't know where it fell down, but it did. So I want to mention that. This is not a new...
question.
Yes.
You do know that KRP came online about 6-8 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, I know about that.
10 acres, okay? So
Yeah.
I think there was a serious investment in a recreation facility here. Whether or not it was adequate, apparently, that we have some additional more work to do. But I just want to make sure that you're aware of the fact that
Okay, well, that was...
10 acres was a huge investment for the
Yeah,
town at that
remember.
point in time.
Yeah. But, I'm talking about for a field.
That's fields over there. I don't know if you've been over to... I talked to somebody the other day that
Oh,
said
you
they've
mean
never
the one
been...
on Boonton Avenue.
Boonton
I'm sorry, I was thinking of the other. Oh, I'm
No.
well aware of that field, and I'm
Okay, and it's
very,
multiple-
very, very familiar with the field that you're having negotiations.
No, that's the adjoining property.
I know that, and I'm very aware of that.
Okay.
But that was only a few years ago, and I'm talking about a long period of time, 40, or practically 40. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The second is, it was alluded to that why should, you older people, because our kids are not in school anymore, why should you care? I care about what happens in my town. I've supported so many school budgets, it's unbelievable. My kids have been out of school for over 20 years. I didn't stop caring about my town or the children in my town when my own children grew up. That's not how I do things. And I think we should make, statements like that. Because I could turn that around and say, why should you care about my needs? But that's not how we think in a town. We think what's best for the whole town. And it has nothing to do with money, really, for me. And I can only speak for myself. It really has to do with the health implications, the protection of our water supply, complying with the Highlands law, which is to protect our water supply. And that's it for me. So if you are able to find any land, including land where trees have to come down, and that would kill me to have trees come down, but if you could do that and put a natural field on it, and we could plant trees elsewhere, do an exchange program to plant trees elsewhere and try to remedy some of the damage there, I would fully support it. I know it would cost me money, but that's okay. I'm all in favor of that. And I'm in favor of more fields, if you can find them. I don't know. I know it's a really tough obstacle right now. I just don't know. Maybe we could buy out a few houses. I don't know. But maybe, whatever you can do, I'm in favor of it. It doesn't have to do with the fact that my children are not in school anymore. So we should really keep that in mind, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else this evening?
My name is Robert Harrington. I live in 260 Long Meadow. I just had two things. People talk about getting new fields. and I only think one other person in this room, or a couple of people. I was at the planning board meeting 2 weeks ago, and I went there with the idea to sort of see if I could speak to them about, everyone talks about, well, let's just put some grass fields somewhere. So I went there. I figured they're the planning board. They would know the plan of the whole town, where there might be available land. What I came back with from that meeting was no one knows, no one's really, there isn't any. The only plot that anyone's mentioned is the plot of land next to KRP. That's the only one I know of and I don't think that's for sale. Mayor, do you know if that's for sale and what the price is? Or is it not for sale?
They've not listed that property for sale.
Okay, so that's not for sale. That's the only one anyone's even mentioned, so that's not for sale. So I don't know where these magical grass fields are going to come from that people always speak of. They're just going to just pop up out of nowhere. One other thing I just thought would be, if anyone on the council, has anyone actually go to every one of our sporting events and asked our kids what fields they want to play on? If they prefer playing on the Kinnelon fields or they prefer playing away on turf fields. Has anyone ever polled them to see what they prefer? I mean, we're all talking about fields for the kids, right? Not us. I'm not playing on them. I'm too old. I mean, does anyone ask them what they like to play on? And what's the answer? Is it our fields?
It's turf.
Right? It's not our fields, right? I mean, I think we should poll the kids, not us. They're the ones playing on it, right? Is anyone going to do that? Okay, that's all I have to say.
Jack Glazer, 68 Green Hill Road. I didn't think I'd have to do this, but apparently some of the folks that are here tonight weren't here in the past, so they haven't heard or don't understand or don't know all the concerns regarding artificial turf and the issues regarding artificial turf. Bob Lewis seems to think it would be more expedient if we went to artificial turf. Well, we're not so sure how expedient it's going to be because we don't know how long the DEP is going to take if they ever approve it. Sooner or later, the consultant's got to dig those holes or drill those holes, and they're going to have to report what they find. And they're going to find that maybe the DEP didn't get the full scoop when the initial report went in. And now all of a sudden the DEP is saying, wait a minute, we weren't aware of that. So some new information has come out. The DEP is now rightfully concerned, and this may take considerably longer than we would expect or want. So that's one issue. Two is the cost. Some people seem to think it's more cost effective to use artificial turf versus natural grass. That has been studied by many universities. And at the next meeting I'll bring them. Because the end of the day, and Glen Rock went through this same issue several months ago, the town and the town fathers were educated that turf is not cheaper than natural grass. That is a misnomer. The industry, the artificial turf industry, tries to convince people of that, but it's not accurate. So it really isn't the most cost effective. From the standpoint of our concern for the children, I happen to be, and most of you aren't aware of it, the chairman of the Board of Health here in Kinnelon. My Board of Health has been studying this for a considerable period of time, and we've looked at the health and safety of the kids, because we're responsible for the health and safety of all the residents, not just seniors, not just parents or adults, or not just children, everybody. One of our major concerns, quite frankly, is children. And we address children in various ways. But when it comes to artificial turf, we've come to the realization that it is not as safe as people would like to think. There's been a lot of concerns about artificial turf, more so now than ever. Most professional football players, over 80% of the professional football players, would prefer not to play on artificial turf. 2 professional teams, Denver and Pittsburgh, as we speak, are tearing up and removing their artificial turf because they've discovered it ain't what it's cracked up to be. It creates problems. Safety problems, health problems, injuries, knee injuries. Stanford University, one of our premier universities in this country, discovered recently that football players on the Stanford team were experiencing more knee injuries when they played on artificial turf. They brought it to the attention of the NCAA, and I'm sure everybody knows what NCAA stands for. And the NCAA said, well, why don't we expand that and see if it's unique to Stanford, or is there something more widespread? Well, it turned out it became very widespread. And physicians, orthopedic physicians from different universities around the country concurred with the results of the orthopedic specialists at Stanford University. 50% more knee injuries are incurred when playing on artificial turf than on natural grass. That's a substantial amount. And that's something you parents and coaches should be thinking about. What are we concerned about? We're concerned about their safety, their health. You should be also. I wouldn't leave it up to the kids to decide what they want to play on. I'm not so sure they're the best judge. It looks pretty, but I'm not sure they're the best judge. You look at soccer. The men's professional soccer worldwide will not play on artificial turf. They refuse to play on artificial turf. The national Spanish team went out to Boise State University in Idaho recently to play the Boise State University team. Before they went, they asked the officials at Boise State what they play on. Did they play on natural grass or artificial turf? They were told, oh, we play on artificial turf. They said, if you want us to come and play your team, you better tear up that artificial turf or find someplace else to play. What did they do after discussing it and thinking about it? At Boise State, they tore it up. They tore it up. The women soccer teams that played recently, the world teams, refused to play on artificial turf. They had never played before. They've had a lot of problems with it, a lot of injuries. They didn't want to play on it. The World Federation forced them to play on it, even though all the international teams, women's teams, sued the World Federation. They finally came to a compromise, and the World Federation backed off and said, you got to play this year. Canada has invested all that money on all these fields. They have no other place for you to play. You're going to have to play. The women backed off, but the agreement is they won't play again in the future on artificial turf. Now, these are professionals. I would think they would know the difference between playing on artificial turf and natural grass, and the benefits of each, and the issues and problems with each. I think you guys ought to think about what other people have learned from their experiences. These are professionals. And maybe you ought to pay heed, because we are concerned about your athletes, believe it or not. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening?
Good evening. Camille Gaines, Wilshire Terrace, Kinnelon. Just one quick question. Jim, Dan, Steve, Mr. D'Antonio, said that you now are in favor of a referendum, possibly. My one question will be, is if we do put it for a vote, and the people do voice their, give the vote, will it be binding?
Of course.
Okay, that's all I want to make sure, is that...
That's me talking.
Okay. Is that, Dan, will it be, if we vote as a town, a special election, or any kind of election, we vote on the issue of artificial turf, will it be a binding...
Absolutely.
You saying yes? Steve, yeah. Will it be binding?
Sure, but are you asking if it's going to be a binding referendum
yes.
legally, or
If
will
legal,
we...
Well, if we have a vote, if the town come out and vote, we have a special election, and we do bring this to a vote to the people, and they vote against the artificial turf, will that be a binding referendum? Or will you disregard?
I thought you were more asking me, do you have my word that I wouldn't bring it up again?
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm asking, if
Would it be a
it does
binding
come to a vote, will
know
it
that
be
answer.
binding?
No, it's not a binding referendum. I thought you were asking, do they agree to be bound by the decision?
That's what I...
Well, that's the same thing, isn't...
No, it's not. That's why I was asking you the question. It's two
Okay,
questions.
all right,
I want to get
okay.
the question right.
A binding referendum is available in some forms of government where the council has to listen to the determination. By law, it must listen to what the vote is on the referendum.
So then what you've all been talking about is that you were all willing to maybe bring this to a vote, but, and so you're making us think, oh, great, you're going to let us vote upon this, you're listening to our will. But ultimately, even if every single person in town voted that bill down, you would not necessarily abide by it.
No, that's not this.
I'm asking.
That's what I thought your question to me was, and I said, yes, you have my word that I would stand by what it says.
In other words, if it was voted upon amongst the residents...
Right.
Jim and I both agree, we abide by what the
You
residents...
abide by what the residents,
Right.
residents vote.
Correct.
That's all I'm asking. You would abide by the residents'
Absolutely.
vote. Steve, you would abide by the residents' vote?
Yes, but just to clear up, I didn't understand if you were asking what I would do personally, or if it was a legally binding referendum.
Well,
And that's why
if
Mr.
it
Mateo
comes
kind
to
of-
a vote,
I said yes.
you will abide by the will of the people. If the majority say yes,
Want me to say yes again?
okay. And I believe, I know,
Well, now you have two other council members.
Okay, and
You didn't ask that question
Adam?
as well.
Absolutely.
and Carol,
Absolutely.
and Cliff.
Thank you. I thought you were never going to get to me. If the town says overall no turf, no turf.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask you a question, though, because this is what I was trying to get from Mr. Charles.
Okay.
Was if it does say yes, are we going to continue with a petition and try to stop it again?
I can't answer that. I don't, that's not for me to decide.
Would you vote a second time against turf, even if it passed the first time?
I believe that when people have brought it to a vote, that the will should be respected.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mayor, I just have one 2-second thing, and then I'm done with turf. Because I'm shocked that Boise, Idaho was covering up the blue turf. So I looked it up, and it's temporary. They covered it, put sheets of plastic over it, put real grass on it, and now they're taking the real grass off, throwing it away, and now going back to turf.
going back to...
Yeah, so there must be a lot of money. Maybe we'll get the Spanish national team to play Kinnelon.
Right. And the Denver Broncos have never had artificial turf. They just put a new brand of grass in their stadium.
No, they had artificial turf, they just took it up.
Nope.
Okay, well,
Thank you,
listen,
Mayor.
I'm going to ask if anyone else from the public would like to be heard this evening on any subject, including turf.
Is there another subject?
Once in a while, we get something else.
Not one comment.
I'm going to ask the public a question, okay, because we have a fair representation. How many of you support our student athletes? A show of hand. How many of you want the very best for our student athletes as far as recreation fields? Okay, so we now have some commonality here, and I think it's always been there. I think it's about how we get there. We're going to find a solution, and you know what? We're going to find the solution together. I thank you so much for coming out and being respectful this evening. I want to wish the football team an excellent season. Thank you to the coach for dedicating time and effort. We have a pretty dynamic program, and at this point in time, I want to close the meeting to the public and now move on to the payment of bills. Bills listed August 20th, 2015.
Thank you. Can we do a group hug?
You can do
Only
whatever
if we
you want,
can take a
Kevin.
picture.
Right?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But where are all those people going to sell their houses?
Okay, Mr. Giblin is here, and that's why I was trying to move this along. He's on the clock. Mr. Giblin's here, so he's been here for 2 hours, so I just want to try to move it along. So,
He was just texting. He got here about quarter.
no, he was in the back. I saw him like when I got up and talked to Cliff, so he's been here a while. If he's
Wait, you want him now?
no, we're not.
No, we have payment.
Nope.
Of bills.
We're presented the payment of bills, list dated August 20th, 2015. Comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the payment of bills list as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Guido?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barrett?
Yes.
Councilman Clavell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spencer?
Yes.
Councilman Giantonio?
Yes.
Thank you. Just before we take action on the consent agenda, I just want to touch upon one thing here that was discussed in work session, and that is, we're going to do this, really. Items M through P came up in discussion, and, hey, Jack, Mr. Gordon's here.
Wow.
Still in here. We
No,
can't
I
hear.
want him to...
Can't hear.
We're trying to do a little business here. Thank you. That worked. We had a concern about items N through P regarding the field in the back here. We did a couple things. We reached out to the QPA, who opined that ultimately it was not a structured transaction and did not violate the spending authority limit. Threshold, I'm sorry. And additionally, we also talked to the accountant, Lou May. He came back with the same assessment. And Mark, you and I haven't talked, so you're...
My response is right.
Okay.
He sent it to me.
I haven't seen it. That's what I'm saying.
I spoke at some length to Holly. The way that she described it as being 3 separate resolutions and 3 separate funding sources, I did not see any cause to disagree with her.
Okay, great. Okay. So that was a concern that we raised in our work session. I think it's been addressed accordingly. I think we have talked about just about everything on the list here. Any comments or questions about any item on the consent agenda?
The 40,000 is with a QPA on 0415? That we have to have a QPA to be 40,000?
Yes, I believe it.
Okay.
Yes.
They'd just be raising it from 36 to
Yes,
40,
they raised-
assuming a QPA?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Any other questions on the consent agenda? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Doherty and seconded by Councilwoman Sventi. We'll do a roll call on this.
You are?
We are.
Okay. Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barris?
Yes.
Councilman Cavell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fenty?
Yes.
And Councilman D'Antonio?
Yes.
Now, under new business, tree and turf both begin with T. So,
Let's not bring that up again, Mayor.
hopefully our next meeting and thereafter, we won't have discussions at length about wooded properties and other items in town. But on a serious note, I know that the council chairman has worked with his committee to put together an ordinance, and the work has been ongoing. But before we move to introduction, I want to bring it to the dais because I know that Councilman Barish had some concerns or questions, and I wanted to get them on the table before we talk about any other considerations. So.
All right. Yeah, I reviewed this this past week, and I imagine it's in the book here somewhere. Page 6, under permit required, 186-8, underneath the table in that paragraph, for removal of more than permitted trees, approval is required for the borough forester. Spellings goes back and forth on double R's and single R's. I believe it's a single R.
Sorry, Adam, give me a second here. I'm trying to catch up to you.
I'll give you this sheet after we're done.
Tab 4 in your binders.
Oh, it is there. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, I'm sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're on page 6, 186-8, permit required, and underneath that table, fourth line down, a placard is also required for the professional trimming, pruning of trees or removal of dead trees. And what I thought is maybe to do regular maintenance and trimming and pruning on some major trees. There's many qualified services out there, Tree Tech and a bunch of them. And I did look, and that's what I handed out on everybody's spot, that NewJerseyTreeExperts.org was the website, that there is an actual, what they call a CTE, a Certified Tree Expert. New Jersey started the certification via the legislature January 16, 2010. And maybe that could be applied in this case, that if you're using a certified tree professional that for trimming and pruning in the natural course of landscape, that a placard might not be needed. So that's the one point for discussion.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it since we spoke at the beginning of the meeting. My concern is, I think a lot of people in town, especially given our affluence, are going to hire tree people to come in and even do minor trimming of trees and bushes and whatever, up to substantial trimming, even, topping trees and all of that stuff. So do we want to allow professionals to come in without notifying the town and have their will with trees on somebody's property, if I'm understanding your point correctly? Saying no placard, no permit, no nothing, we can just have a professional come in and we can say, trim that tree, trim that tree, trim that tree, with no notice to the town.
Yeah, knowing that they're a tree professional that's covered under that guidelines, I have no problem with that.
Well, I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I would throw out there that you hire a professional, he may give you his advice, but he's going to do what you pay him to do. If I want more trees than I should taken off, he may say, yeah, it's a bad decision, but I'm going to pay him, he's going to do it. So I think the permit should be...
I'm sure the homeowner who clear-cut those acres down by that lake, you forgive me, I'm sure the homeowner didn't go out there with his axe and cut it. I'm sure he hired a professional who was very happy to cut dozens...
What he was paid to cut.
Trees. Right. Yeah. I mean...
I understand.
In essence, what would happen then, you forgive me, is that the ordinance would only apply to people who do it-yourselfers. And most tree ordinances don't apply just to do-it-yourselfers, because given the nature of the industry, there's very few do-it-yourselfers who, the guys who own chainsaws don't fell big trees by themselves.
Well, keep in mind, we're talking about trimming and pruning. I'm not talking about cutting trees at this point.
I think I understand your point. What you're getting at is a professional will know not to cut a tree too much to the point where it dies.
Correct.
Right?
Or they better well, you got to get into licensing, but, they wouldn't be permitted to work in Kinnelon.
Right, exactly.
If they're going to be cutting trees when they're supposed to be
Adam,
pruning.
there's a couple of things on here I agree. I know where you're heading with it, is what Bob Dyer kept saying to me that he wants to go there to make sure that it's okay, or what they did not violate our rules, and making sure that they're not cutting trees down. He wants to know if someone's trimming, I'm going to go there just to make sure and check everything out. I have a problem with that, but that's what he wants.
And he's in Pennsylvania and not actually...
Correct.
Yeah. Not even doing it, so...
I don't
have a problem.
If you go towards past Bubbling Brook Road, and it's Butler, it's not Kinnelon. There are 4 massive pine trees.
Takeout Road.
I saw that. And that was done by the homeowner. It looks like Roman columns, but that was a little bit of an aggressive pruning job. But I don't know if you've seen it, because I go by them.
Impressive or excessive?
A little aggressive, but I think the concern here is that people have taken liberty with the tree removal ordinance in the past. They're trying to put some guidelines in place that may have some practical application. And I do agree that if you hire a professional, he's pretty much going to do what you ask him to do.
Right.
And we have some people in the past, what they've done is that they've actually cut down top trees. They take trees down, topped them because they're affecting their view.
Right. So I'm okay leaving it. It's all for discussion, obviously.
No, it's a valid point, but I think it might be the safer way to leave it in there, just so we can control it a little bit.
Sure. The second question was, make it closer, 186.9, so at the bottom of the same page, filing an application for tree removal or tree encroachment permit to be filed duplicate in the construction office. And here my only note is that would take you down to Bloomingdale by necessity, and could we make a choice here to, maybe they can leave it with the clerk here, and we can make arrangements to get that filed down in Bloomingdale on their behalf. We're assuming that there'll be extra people in your office, though. You're not alone. But
Karen has nothing to do.
Karen's
Karen's getting sick.
That's,
If Councilman's concern is well taken, we can put in the construction office, which of course is no longer in our municipality, or other designated locations.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You're good with that?
yeah, absolutely.
How would we designate it, though? You know what I mean?
As designated by the Borough Council or by resolution?
I think on the form you would have to be filed with...
Oh, okay.
I think, the form ultimately
That makes
is
sense.
the information where it needs to go.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean,
That makes sense. The form would say, file this, or mail this to, or drop this off at.
somebody in the, Karen would say, hey, you don't have to write it down. Thanks for taking, just drop it in the box when you're done.
Right, or conversely, if you're building a house, you actually want to involve the construction department to make sure that, you're not taking down trees. So then you would either, you may file it down to the construction office. That may be the appropriate place to file.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that 1 or 2 trees that, you need the permission for. It's just, it seemed like a lot. We're asking our people, we just made accommodations to let them drop their grass trimmings, at Silas, but yet...
No, it's a valid point.
That's all. So I like your idea there, Mark, or other designated. And then I think Cliff and I talked before that on the next page, I call it page 7, under B, fees, it talks about no permit will be required or fees waived for the removal of dead, deceased, or hazardous trees. However, no such trees shall be removed without prior notice to the property owner, to the borough forester. And you're talking about the hazardous trees. I just said, what about emergent situations? A tree that's in peril of damaging a house or something. Is that permissible to post notify the borough?
He said he would do that by phone.
Okay, so are we okay with it then the way it is, or should there be a sentence?
Yeah, does hazardous include emergent? That was kind of the issue. I tend to think it does, but I don't know if anyone has...
I'm okay either way with it.
I guess my question, who defines what's emergent and/or hazardous?
Forester.
Yeah, that's a very big gray area.
A homeowner thinking that a tree is a little bit too shady may say, and that could fall,
Yeah.
It's the middle of winter, there's
They're
no
all going to
leaves,
fall
it's
at some
dead.
point in time.
Bigger issue. We need a forest.
I don't know.
Okay, anything else?
No, that was it.
Well, I have 3 problems with this.
Really?
Well, one, I think this is only going to affect smoke rise, because he's requiring a placard, and the placard is not going to be given, or you're not going to be able to get into smoke rise with a tree removal truck unless you have that placard.
Right.
So I think the rest of the town is going to be, you know, trimming and cutting and not
And
having...
therein has always laid the problem.
Right. And so I'm trying to figure out how, you know, I guess my thought is Bob Dyer's, he's only here when we call him, really. So who's going to be patrolling this and who's going to be noticing this? So that's one of my problems.
You know, it's like any other property maintenance issue, though. I mean, we don't have someone, you can't, we have an ordinance against parking on pervious surfaces. Okay, that's part of our property maintenance. Do we have somebody running around saying, hey, you're parked on gravel, you can't do that? I mean, you're just going to have to rely on the people to respect the law.
I know there's been some... I'm sorry, Steve.
And then if someone, a neighbor does see a violation, or just, you know, somebody starts to cut down trees, they'll have to report it. But I don't know if we can have a constant patrol for these ordinances.
Just to add, the Environmental Commission has had some conversation, now I'm going to start coughing, in regards to an educational component and having seminars or gatherings on their own through the Environmental Commission to help educate the public about a tree ordinance or this or that or whatever issue. And they're working towards a goal of like a list of projects that they could do that with the public to help educate them about.
I don't think this is going to affect people that want to do things the right way. This is really people that are going to go outside the lines, they're going to cut down trees, and they're going to ask for forgiveness after the fact and say, oh, I really didn't know.
That's where the fine comes in.
That's my hope, is the fines will help that out a little bit.
Or we publicize a little bit more. But you make a good point. If Bob Dyer is, you know, really part-time, how do we make sure that people are not inconvenienced by this?
Well, that's what also leads me up to that it takes 10 days for me to get my permit. I'm an impulse guy. You know, if I have a weekend off, and I finally have a weekend off, and I want to take care of some yard work, you know, I need a permit for, and this is my other problem, for him to decide whether or not it's relevant for me to cut down a tree on my private property. You know, I might not like this tree just because of the way it looks, and I'm going to put some plantings in and replace it, but now I'm going to have a person come to my house and determine on my private property whether or not I can cut that tree down. So I guess that's my biggest problem.
Well, you can cut down a certain number without.
Correct.
So, I mean...
But you need a placard.
You still need a placard, right.
Well, maybe they should be more available.
So the placard's telling me that that person is coming to my house to look to make sure that I'm cutting down the right amount of trees and everything else. And also, if you do need a permit time, or if you're cutting over, now you have to go to all your neighbors.
But let me throw this at you. I think the placard basically puts the homeowner on notice that he, in fact, has clearly represented the intended work. Okay? You can't come in and say to, you know, the forester, I want to take down 2 trees, and he says, okay, here's the placard, and by the way, the next time it stops over your property, you basically have clear-cut the property. I think that's really the hook there. Maybe I'm wrong for...
Well, I just, because I notice that everywhere it says permit, it says placard as well, and to me, they're 2 different things. And I just, you know, I've worked on this ordinance, so I think it's fair. I'm just, you know, it says adjacent neighbor notification, no permit or placard shall be issued until 10 days after submission of the permit request and to your neighbors. Yeah. So, you know, even if you have a placard, you have to ask your neighbors.
Well, I think maybe it should be worded that if you don't need a permit, then you don't have to give notification. If you only require a placard, which is 1 tree on a half an inch, whatever, then perhaps the notification should not kick in.
Yeah, I agree.
Because nobody can stop you from doing it. You have the right to do it. So.
Yeah.
But you can't do it unless you come to town hall and get a placard.
Right, and that's just so the forester can go up and make sure you know how to count to 1 and not cut down 9 trees.
Right.
So we're changing that?
Remove placard from
the notifying?
notifying.
All right.
If you only need a placard, you shouldn't have to notify anybody.
Mr. Ordinance Chairman, it sounds like there's more discussion to this.
Just
changing a couple.
Okay.
So I know you've been working diligently. I'm asking you if you are okay.
Get this done?
No, I know that there's been a push from the environmental, but I think we want to get it right. I think my preference is, if you're okay, to just carry it and then let's tweak it for introduction next month. I don't know everybody else is in agreement, because it sounds like the placard and...
Do you think it'd be more than a de minimis change if we introduced it tonight and have to do... It's more than de minimis, what you're saying?
About here is-
Okay, I just wanted your opinion,
There's
Mark.
at least
Your
four
legal-
different things that have to be changed and reworded, so...
All right.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we will carry the introduction, until next month. Tax collectors and report, investment officers report with Karen, if she can get through it.
During the month of July 2015, the Tax Collector's Office processed a total of $2,677,779.21. The Investments Officer report a total of $457.67 was earned in interest for the month of July 2015.
Ask the acting clerk to file as read. Next order of business is the district school payment, $2,959,450.83. Someone offer that, please.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Frida?
Yes.
I feel like we should all cough our answer.
Yes.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yes.
I didn't even say it. Councilman Giantonio?
Yes.
I will remind
Thank you.
I will remind the council that Councilman Barish has been talking openly about putting this on our website as a recording, so we're going to actually do that roll call over again. Everybody's on
trying
the
to save
record.
her from having to...
I understand.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Clavell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sventi?
Yes.
Councilman Giantonio?
Yes.
Thank you. Appointments. I'd like to handle these as one group unless someone wants to vote against the second name on the list, which I don't think is going to happen. But if the council's okay, we have 3 appointments for consideration. Karen D'Amico for Board of Adjustment, Evan Barish for the Kinnelon Volunteer Fire, as a Kinnelon Volunteer Firefighter, and Brian Merlucci as a Kinnelon Volunteer Firefighter. Someone offer those, please.
So moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Resignations this evening. Norm Dottie, Planning Board and Environmental Commission. Keith Wiederman from the Open Space Advisory Committee. Ernie Palatucci, OEM Coordinator. And Michael Airy from the Kinnelon Recreation Committee. Any comments or anything you'd like to say about any one of these individuals that we have not said already? Someone offer that, please, with regret.
I'll offer that with regrets.
Your second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Could you frame going into closed...
Mayor, my understanding is the governing body desires to go into closed session for a period of approximately 20 minutes for the purposes of discussing personnel matters and potential property acquisition. Subsequent to that closed session, the governing body will come out, obviously back into open session where action may or may not be taken, although it is anticipated that an adjournment will take place soon thereafter. If someone would like to say...
Will someone offer that motion, please, as framed by the councilor?
I'll make that motion.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are in closed. Thank you for coming out this evening. Take care, Glenn.
Gotta piss him off going into closed, don't you?
Bill, if you can close the door on the way out, thank you very much. Do you need more?
No, they were in there. Oh, where? Where I put that?
Ask for a motion to go back into open.
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are returning from closed session. There is no business that was conducted during close that requires any formal actions at this particular point in time. That concludes this evening's business before the mayor and council, so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Now you're going to move. Pick up my lands at 11.
Oh, Chris?
Yeah, guys, I'll do it, Cam.
What did I hear? Did I hear Chris made the USA